Hi.
Little froggies jump by the pond. Sorry, I was warming up my vocal cords. I'm sorry.
That's what the coffee's for.
Oh.
Welcome back. If you watched the first session, if you didn't get a chance to watch our first session, it gives kind of an intro as to who we are and what we're doing here. So this is our little coffee time.
And the moral of that story is if you didn't see episode 1, go back and watch episode 1.
Okay then. So today we thought we would talk a little about what takes place at coffee when you have coffee with someone. Primarily there is an exchange taking place and it involves listening. And I know some of us may not always feel heard, and some of us just have a desire to really be heard and so do a lot of talking, right? I talk a lot.
You're not speaking of yourself, are you?
I like to talk and I talk a lot. Shock!
And I like to listen.
And I think when it comes to communicating with someone else, oftentimes we know exactly who we are and what we want to say, but we don't know what the other person has to say and what they're thinking, and we mask that as we just keep going and going and going. And I think it's important to stop and listen effectively.
Oh, absolutely. Interesting enough, I like to watch videos on YouTube, and a lot of those are personal development videos. And one of my favorite, little shout out to Simon Sinek. I do enjoy listening to his conversations, as he would say. He doesn't give speeches, they're conversations, just like we're trying to do here. But he had mentioned a story with Nelson Mandela going to meetings with his father, and the importance that he learned in leadership and going to those meetings was that they would sit together, and he would see that the main person in charge would be actively listening and be the last one to speak. And he found great value in that you don't disagree as you're listening. You're not already thinking of countermeasures to what they're saying. And interesting enough, wouldn't you know that is also in the Bible. And in James 1:19, it specifically tells us to be slow to speak and quick to listen. And I know that at work, I find it much easier to do than I do at home. I find by nature, for some reason, I think it's more important that I listen attentively to those that are in charge of me at work and listen to, say, subordinates and be actively engaged there. And sometimes when I get home, I'm just fried. They say guys have so many words that they can take in a day, and I have about 10 by the time I get home here. So, but what I have learned is if we're going to say that marriage is a priority in our life, if I'm going to say that, I need to make listening to you a priority. And we've talked about before, hey, coming home, and no, I'm not trying to make it a check the block kind of thing.
Yeah.
However, that if I don't put that in the front load of the day when I come home, from work, you're not going to have the best of me to listen.
Right.
And, there's greater value, I think, for sure, in listening. You learn a lot more in listening than speaking.
And I think feelings are resolved when you feel heard. I think, a person feels valued, valuable and valued when someone takes the time to listen to them. They feel important, and like we've said before, time is your greatest asset. When you give somebody the time to listen to them, then they feel important. Like, wow, you just gave up your time and you're focused on detail. And even if it's not something that you find important truly yourself, maybe something that's not interesting, in and of itself, but that it's interesting to the other person. So, for example, I should listen to what you're saying because it's important to you. And likewise, you'll listen to what I'm saying just because it's important to me. So it brings value back to the marriage.
And I certainly believe that we had no issue in doing so when we were dating. I'm sure there's a lot of couples out there that talk and talk and talk, and heck, the girl's just thinking this guy's the greatest thing, since sliced bread out there. He listens to me and everything else, and it's amazing what we do when we're trying to win her heart. I think that it's equally, if not more important, what are we going to do to keep her heart? And if that means that I have to be engaged, and as you can't really see our whole table here, folks, but cell phones are on off. Cell phones are not on the table. No. Okay, if we decide to have coffee or dinner, I don't bring my cell phone. We have one on us in case of emergency. But
if we're out and about,
right. And this way, it's not just sitting out there, and my mind is thinking about a text or work calling or something else like that. I can set aside, an engaged amount of time with Julia to just be focused on the moment, which is something that I'm trying to work on, is living in the moment and not, oh my gosh, it's Thursday and I'm already thinking about Saturday or whatever it is. But let me ask you, how do you know when I'm actively listening to you versus just going through the motions and you have no idea?
I think you've hit on a few of those points and you've demonstrated a few of those things. You're not looking at a cell phone. The cell phone's not in your hand or accessible. I think eye contact, your body language is you're facing me. You're not doing another task while you're listening or
right.
Saying you're listening, and by like what you said earlier is you're not demonstrating that you're ready to give a response and you're waiting till I'm finished.
And I've come to find, for me, like anything else, to become good at something, let alone excellent or very good at something, it takes practice. Right. And awareness is a big part of that. When I'm listening to you, if I start to wander off or start to think about, I'm going to get her with this one, this is a counter thing, then I'm already failing in my goal of being totally actively, listening to you. And our conversations are way better when I'm listening truly and not having my brain elsewhere and focused on you. And I think that just by practicing that little step, that benefits will be rewarded quickly.
And I think that goes for everyone, to actively listen to whomever they're with, whether it's their children or their friends or their spouses or their parents, or just to, if somebody says, how are you doing? And you're just, it's all about, I'm doing great or I'm doing lousy, and you don't ask how they're doing, or you don't listen to how they're doing. You almost give the impression you don't really care how they're doing.
Right, and asking how are you, that we really care how they're doing.
Right.
And it's just not, how are you, and just walking by.
Right, kind of things. And just that's a little way to demonstrate that you care, and you're showing that by listening, by asking those questions. And
right, because each person matters.
Absolutely.
And
everyone.
Right. And as you said, when people are listening, it makes them feel like they matter.
Right.
And heck, our perceptions are our realities. And, so that's something that certainly between now and next, each day I'm going to continue to work on. Heck, everybody knows I'm a work in progress, especially myself. But,
we all are.
So what I'm walking away from today. Also, so you know, our conversations do tend to last longer than 10 minutes. It's just for this little video clip that we do. We usually carry on these conversations. So don't rush through your conversations with that special person that you're spending your time with. But I'm walking away with today to focus on being a better listener and go from there. And slow to speak and quick to listen.
Sounds like a
I
plan.
think there's a lot of value there. And some things that we wanted to clear up based on our last video that we sent for the email. I want to make sure that you understand it's morningsunshine3, like the number 3, at hotmail.com. Also, I am not a vain man. My wife purchased this as a gift. And thankfully, I married a woman with great taste. What can you do?
And that's your love language, to feed the
words
ego.
of affirmation. We will be talking about the love languages in further coffee conversations. But yes, I am a words of affirmation guy. That's why she'll see me talking in the mirror on a regular basis.
Handsome.
You are a handsome man. You are a beast among men. Yes. No. But again, we'd like to close out in prayer. And again, send us any prayer requests you have, anything that, any topics that are proper subject matter. Please send to us, and we'd love to talk about it. And let's just close out with prayer. Heavenly Father, we thank you that again we were able to be brought together and share our discussion with other people out there, that it will spark conversations with those close to them, be it their spouse, a close friend, a family member. Perhaps they've been, away from a family member for some time and need to have some deep conversation. And I just pray that through proper conversation, solid listening, that their relationships would be strengthened, that they would draw closer together, that they would have the relationship that you created them to have. And we're praying for all those out there. And we just thank you in advance for the answer to prayer. And we just come trusting and having faith that this prayer will be answered. And Julia and I, and come in your son Yeshua's name, and all those that accept this, say amen.
Amen.
And for those of you that perhaps you don't read the Bible, perhaps you don't have a faith in God, you're atheists, you're whatever else, and all that prayer thing kind of offends me or whatever. Well, I'm gonna offend you then. I'm sorry about that, but I'm really not sorry. But we're praying for you, and I believe you can still, anybody can take something positive away from this. No judgment being laid down there. We're not the people to judge, and hope you can still tune in and listen to us, and that we encourage you, and know that we choose to love all you guys out there, and in doing so, that's why we're here to serve you. And have a great week.
Thank you.